Yes, I heard back from Arthur Mathews, who had purchased a mobile home, but he said it wasn't quite set up and ready to go when it was delivered. This is the first home Arthur Mathews has ever owned. It's a mobile home from Craftmark, purchased in May. Arthur says when the payments are finished, he'll have about $45,000 in the home with today's interest rates, so he wanted everything to be just right, but it wasn't. Arthur said the mobile home park requires skirting around the bottom in 90 days, but he said he can't do that until the home was leveled, and he also had to have one more anchor placed underneath, a requirement of the insurance on the home. Also, a puncture that occurred during delivery had to be fixed. Well, inside, Arthur showed me he was shaving every morning by a drag light hanging on the bathroom shower rod. No electricity in one half of the home. He found a bare spot in the carpeting, and the bathtub in another bathroom wouldn't drain. Arthur says it was very frustrating.
Well, now I'm going to ask you, wouldn't it make you mad?
You bet.
You bet you, because I'm investing some money here. I'm not, and I don't own the ground or nothing. The only thing I own is this box. This trailer. That's all I'll have in 15 years.
Well, Craftmark dealer Bill Saline said he didn't know about all the troubles, but had ordered some of the parts which just came in. He said he felt he had a good setup crew and that everything would be taken care of. Well, I checked back with Arthur Mathews, and he said much of the work had been taken care of, as Saline promised.
They have not done all the repairs they need to yet. They got carpet yet to put down and the trailer to paint where the hole was in the front. They went and raised it 4 inches, leveled it off, and then they went and fixed the tub and fixed the lights.
Well, you feel a little bit better about it at this point?
Well, I won't feel better until it's done. I'll be all right, truthful with you, until I get what's coming to me.
So in your corner, we'll make one more check back to see if everything is repaired and if Arthur Mathews got what he paid for. If you have a problem, write In Your Corner, KTVY, Box 14068, Oklahoma City, 73113, or give us a call at 478-2291. I'm Brad Edwards, In Your Corner. Linda Paxton told me her portable television was making cracking and popping sounds. She thought she'd try to get it fixed if it was cheaper than buying a new set. Well, she found Bill's TV in the yellow pages and gave him a try. It said same-day service, but she said after paying him $120, her set was still having the same problem. In fact, after taking it back 2 times and waiting several months, the set came back with even more problems.
My TV was in better shape before I brought it in to him than when I took my TV home.
Yeah.
The front of the TV set didn't have all these, it looks like it was hit with a hammer or screwdriver or something. Mm-hmm. Part of the UHF dial is missing inside the TV.
Can't see the numbers.
No, I cannot tell what channel it's on when I turn to UHF. Well, my daughter was in here, Isabella, and she said, "Mama, look under the TV." So I looked under the TV and found this. Wires hanging out.
Okay, did you ask him about this?
I didn't see anything. I didn't see the wires until Sunday night. And by this time, I'm so upset because I asked him about the front, fixing the front of my television set.
What did he say about that?
He told me that he would replace the front if I would pay him for more money for the parts that he had put into it the 3rd time I took it back. And I had told him, I said, well, I already paid him $120 cash. I've been out without a TV for 2.5 months, and he did not reply.
Well, after all this, Belinda says she checked with a Better Business Bureau and found that Bill's TV had 61 complaints against them and that only 10 of them had been answered. She wishes she had checked first. Well, I paid a visit to Bill's TV service and talked with owner John Farrell. Owner of the repair shop, John Farrell, would not allow me to use his picture on television, but this is what he told me. Farrell says, yes, he did have Belinda Paxton's television set in for repairs 2 or 3 times over a period of months, but he says the second time he had it, lightning hit it. And he says at his own expense he replaced 5 modules in that set as a result of the lightning strike at his own cost of $100, free for Belinda Paxton. And he says if it's not working now, he'll fix it again. The question is, will Belinda Paxton trust him to try it again? Meanwhile, Belinda told me a friend with a broken television had called Bill's TV service to make a house call. They invited me to be there when John Farrell arrived, and we were. Hello, John.
How you doing?
All right. How are you today?
All right. Well, you want to get my picture, huh?
I want to get your picture. We also would like to know if you've decided to give Paxton her money back.
I'm going to think about it a little bit first.
What other considerations do you have to do? We have some other questions to
Well,
ask.
did she want to bring her set back down to the shop and let me work on it?
No, she said she's had it bringing her set back down there, and she'd like to have her money back because she doesn't have confidence anymore that it's going to get repaired down there. Mm-hmm. And she also had some other questions that we wanted to ask, like when the TV was hit by lightning and why she wasn't notified of it. You remember that?
No, I don't remember. So much lightning hit. I don't remember just what date it was.
How was it hit? Was it hit on the roof or inside, or how was it hit?
It was a surge.
The Phil Smalley facility is the Center for Emotionally Disturbed Children on 12th Street in Norman, which is now under construction and may continue to be for some time. However, 12th Street is the only way for the 130 staff members, parents, food service trucks, etc. to get in, not to mention emergency vehicles such as fire trucks or an ambulance. But when the construction began, so did the trouble, according to Center Director Dr. Gwen Gardner. When you are able to get in on 12th Street around the construction and so forth, I understand there have been a few incidents out there with the workers. Tell me about those.
Well, I think one car, they dropped a rock on top of it. There have been some verbal insults and some nonverbal insults, I think. But they seem to consider that we shouldn't be driving on that road.
So what have you told the parents that come in to visit their children?
We have told them to come in and not use 12th Street.
Well, the employees found another way to get to work through state-leased alfalfa fields on either side of the Children's Center. But one rainy morning, that came to a screeching halt.
As you can well tell, there are certain vehicles that are, stuck out there in the field this morning.
Whose car is stuck out there?
Well, in addition to some of our other staff members, mine also is out there, and I don't know whose else is stuck out there.
The access problem has been going on for about 2 months now. The center was promised an access route when this all began, but the employees felt they were given none. Norman school buses, which are parked on the other side of 12th Street, were getting in and out without too much problem, despite one small misunderstanding, which reportedly resulted in a road worker throwing some dirt at a school bus. And, of course, school buses sit much higher from the ground than cars, so access would be easier. Phil Smalley employees say they should have another access route, one other than the construction site. They pointed out that even the city of Norman cautioned them about driving through there by putting up a warning sign.
It appears that they have graded 12th Street this morning, and there is a minimal amount of traffic going through there. But if we have continued rains, it appears that the problem, could get worse. And we're interested in the satisfactory resolution of the problem of maybe some gravel roads or something being laid out here in the interim period until such time as they can complete progress on 12th Street.
Children's Center employees said they got no response from the Transportation Department about the problem. Well, I asked the State Transportation Department about the rudeness of the road workers and about the possibility of putting in a gravel access road for the Children's Center. Officials there said they would take care of any problems with the workmen, but the access road question should be taken to the city of Norman since it was a city road project. The state was supervising it. I called Norman City Manager Jim Crosby, who said he'd investigate the problem, and the following day, Crosby said they put a load of gravel in on 12th Street, which leads right into the Phil Smalley Children's Center. This is Tiger. He is a hero in the John Lyons family. Tiger saved the lives of John, his wife, and 2 small children yesterday. The only casualty was another cat living with the Lyons family. Inside, John showed me the cause of their close call yesterday morning when he turned on the furnace in the new mobile home.
Burning unit's down here, and the hot air comes up and supposed to exit through the top. And the blower here was just sucking it back down through the system.
Because the pipes weren't connected?
Just because the pipes wasn't connected. Well, they come out, and Coleman looked at it, and he said, well, maybe we can fit it back together.
Yeah.
He said, and he tried, and there was no way to get them both connected.
That's when he said it was damaged.
That's when he says, well, it's going to have to be replaced. He said, the main furnace is okay, it's just this casing here was damaged sometime before it was either, well, I don't know when it was damaged, but it damaged enough that that's what caused the problem.
Worse than that, John's 2 children were damaged. 7-month-old little John and 3-year-old Andrea were still asleep in their room when John turned on the furnace to warm up the home. He went back to sleep and would never have known there was any danger if it hadn't been for Tiger.
And about 25 after 5, the cat come in there and got up in my face. Now, it doesn't normally get into the bed, or in the bedroom for that fact, but he come in there and woke me up. So I jumped up and I got my wife up for breakfast, and we went about our business, and the cat got sick. She run over and picked the cat up and threw him outside before he got sick in the trailer, and started back to finish my breakfast, making my breakfast, and my son coughed and started wheezing and stuff, and we heard him out here, so she went in there and picked him up, and when she come out, he was limp. He was just completely out of it.
John said the hospital reported more than 20% carbon monoxide in the children's blood, but after they were given oxygen for some time, they were fine. He and his wife were not harmed, he thinks, because their bedroom door was open, and he woke up in time. After their health needs were attended to, John turned to getting the furnace fixed. Although he does not own the home, it is brand new, he went to the dealer, Continental. Officials said they would have to check with the manufacturer, Cameo Mobile Homes in Big Springs, Texas, where the home was built and the furnace installed. John was not sure who was responsible for taking care of the dangerous situation, and he called In Your Corner. I checked with the manufacturer and found they had their service manager flying in this morning. I talked with Gary Richardson this afternoon at the Lyons home.
You've asked how any problem, say, can leave the plant and get by the federal inspectors and so on. And they come in so many times a week, depending upon what your production level is. Every item of every home is not inspected. That's impossible.
Richardson says this is a rare problem for his company, but this one incident, he said, is cause to examine the entire inspection process. Meanwhile, his company is having the furnace replaced. They're paying the hospital bills for the Lyons and want to get the children another cat for the one that died. Meanwhile, Tiger, the hero, sits modestly in front of the Lyons home, enjoying the special treatment he's getting since he woke up the Lyons family yesterday morning. I met Frank Barclay at Traveler's Aid downtown in Oklahoma City, where he was trying to get some money for a deposit on an apartment. Frank had been living with a friend for a couple of months, but his friend and his family could not support him, so he was trying to get a small place of his own while waiting to hear from Social Security disability. Well, Frank doesn't look disabled. He appears strong, but it's what you can't see that's making Frank's life miserable.
Sarcoidosis is a lung disease which affects the lungs, and eventually it affects the total body organisms. And one of the main portions that it affects is your breathing.
Is there any cure for it?
No. There's no cure whatsoever.
Well, you're getting ready to go to the Peace Corps when you found out that you were ill.
Yes, I was. I had applied for an application, and I was accepted to go to Kenya, Africa, through the Peace Corps office of New York City, New York. And it was when I had gone to the induction center station in Newark, New Jersey, that they found out that I had a lung disease.
Frank says he's a school teacher by trade. In New Jersey, he taught elementary school and worked with emotionally disturbed children. He'd been having health problems then, but didn't know why. One doctor thought it was tuberculosis, but Frank didn't find out until he tried to join the Peace Corps that he had sarcoidosis, a rare disease. The OU Health Sciences Center told us the cause is unknown, and there is no effective treatment. It affects various parts of the body, the eyes, the liver, the skin, and the lungs. Victims suffer shortness of breath, coughing, fever, chills. Well, Frank is only 37, but he says as he gets older, the effects get worse. Sometimes now he has to take oxygen when he has an attack, and all this has been a stumbling block in holding a job and the type of job he can hold. So Frank was trying to get on Social Security. In the meantime, he needed a place to live. Well, since he had been a teacher, I checked with the American Federation of Teachers in Oklahoma City to see if they could help him. They came through with a combined donation of $164 for Frank. Travelers Aid was considering giving Frank the rest of the deposit and the first month's rent. Mike Alligood of Travelers Aid told us the problem with helping people in Frank's predicament.
Well, the problem with people who are temporarily disabled is the fact that until someone really knows that they're going to qualify, then agencies are very apprehensive about doing anything, because you can put a couple $100 into a solution of a problem and it won't necessarily bring about any kind of results.
Frank had not yet received notice of qualification for Social Security disability payments, so Alligood said many temporary support agencies would not want to set him up, only to find that he didn't qualify and then have to give up his temporary residence or financial support and send him back to nothing.
They have to know that this person is going to be able to sustain themselves. Otherwise, then you create a bigger problem when there's not going to be any income, and you've got a person who is stabilized, and you've got to go in and unstabilize them.
Ricky Williams told me he bought a used Buick Riviera from Toon Motors in Bethany last December. He bought the car, he says, from the owner, who died about a week later. Well, Ricky claims he paid $950 cash for that car and said his father-in-law witnessed the transaction. But 6 months later, Toon Motors came and picked up the car and towed it away.
I worked my regular shift. When I got off in the morning, I went out to get in my car, and I looked all over the parking lot. I knew where I parked it, and it wasn't there. So I went back into the security office and told them. He called the police out there. They took a report on it. And I didn't have this piece of paper with me. It was in the car. And so they couldn't complete the report. And when I was going by there, I noticed it sitting there. So I went over there and opened the door up and got that paper out, went in and showed it to him. Talked to him on the phone, explained to him about it. They let me have my car back, released it to me. And then the next morning, they came and got it again.
From your home?
From right out of my driveway. They didn't say anything. They already had it hooked onto the winch whenever I came out the door. I asked them what they thought they were doing. He said, well, I'm taking my car. You lied to me. And I said, no, I didn't lie to you. I've got it right here. And he said, that doesn't mean anything.
Well, what Ricky had was a purchase order for a car, but let's take a look at it. The order describes the car and the motor company. It gives the price of the car, $950, and it is signed by Ricky. However, it is not signed by the car dealer, nor is it marked paid in full or for any amount. Ricky did not have a receipt for any payment, and he did not have the title for the car. Ricky, as a matter of fact, did not have a thing to show that he paid for that car. So I checked with Toon Motors to see what paperwork they had to show whether or not the car was paid for and why it was repossessed. Officials there told me they did not repossess a car from Ricky Williams. They repossessed 2 cars from Ricky, something he didn't tell me. Mrs. Toon, wife of the deceased car lot owner, showed me the record of payment on 2 note cards, one for a used Cadillac purchased in September of '81, then another for the Riviera purchased in December. However, both note cards show no payments made since January 7th of this year. They also showed me a copy of a receipt for $50 paid January 7th. Nothing since. Officials said since the owner of the car lot died, they did not catch up with Ricky in Mr. Toon's records until a couple of months ago, and at that time, they repossessed both the cars. They said titles were never turned over to Ricky because he hadn't paid for the cars. I checked back with Ricky. He admitted getting behind in payments on the Cadillac, but says his father-in-law will verify he paid cash in full for the Riviera. However, Toon Motors also has a witness claiming that Ricky did not. Most Oklahomans know Greg Burns as a talented artist. Over the years, we have seen Greg grow in prominence with his drawings. Probably many people who purchase or just admire Greg's work don't know he is handicapped. Well, Greg did not let his physical restrictions hinder his artistic talents, and Greg does not intend to let his handicap hinder his desire and his right to vote. But Greg says voting does become an ordeal for him.
I use a wheelchair a lot, but also most of the time I walk, and just the way the railing is, there are 2 or 3 steps getting up into this voting place, and it's it might as well be 92. I can get up steps if the railing thing next to it is goes all the way down, but the particular railing on these steps stops about halfway down the first step, and so it's real difficult. My wife's helped me try to get in there, and like I've fallen down trying to get in there. Every time we vote is a semi-ordeal like that.
Well, it's difficult to describe in words, so Greg took us to the West Nichols Hills School where he votes and showed us what he was talking about. And Greg told me the precinct election workers did not offer him any help.
They're real friendly. They're older people, and I think they just don't quite understand. They just see a person out there struggling to get in, probably, and making it most of the time. And so, I guess, I almost feel like, they're going to give me some kind of a small applause or something when I finally get up there. There's a lot of drama involved in it. The most interesting thing, which I didn't know about, was all you have to do is ask for voter assistance. But nobody in our election place knew about it. They, and so anyway, that's why I called you.
Greg showed me that he has to fall backwards to lean against the railing, which does not come to the bottom of the steps. Then he has to hoist his legs up step by step to get to the top level. Then he's okay. Well, I checked with Lee Slater, State Election Board Chairman, to learn what help is available for handicapped voters.
This year we have a new law which is in effect that applies to a particular category of physically disabled person, a person who can actually get to the polling place, but who cannot get inside the polling place to actually cast his ballot. Under terms of the new law, when there is a voter in that circumstance, 2 of the precinct election officials of different political parties are authorized to actually take all the materials outside the polling place and provide them to the voter for the voter to cast his ballot in the car or whatever once he's arrived at the polling place.
And why didn't Greg's precinct workers help him?
They don't want what they perceive to be preferential treatment, and in fact, I suppose it depends on your perspective, but rather than giving them preferential treatment, what we're trying to do is to give them equal treatment, and there's a big difference. But certainly the precinct officials are in an awkward position in trying to initiate that information with the voter if they don't personally know the voter.
Slater said helping the handicapped is emphasized in election workers' training, but some workers may fear they will embarrass a handicapped individual. However, he says the individual has only to send someone in to ask and they will be assisted. Slater says he will consider posting signs to that effect at polling places, which may help Greg Burns and others who want to get out and vote.
I've seen myself so many times that just a few votes can really make a big difference. Besides, it's one of those kind of deals. You get out there and you get out among the people in line and you're all talking about stuff, and it just makes me feel good.
For those who have never looked into FHA VA loans, they are simply mortgages that are insured by the government. Therefore, lending companies who handle them give lower interest rates, trusting in the government to back those loans up. Since more people are eligible for FHA loans, let's look at them first. The amount you can borrow is geared toward the cost of housing in your area and your income. In the Oklahoma City area, the most expensive house you could buy would be $67,500. What about down payments? For houses up to $25,000, you pay 3% down. Over $25,000, it's 5% down. And of course, FHA loans are going at 13.5% interest rate at present. So it can be a good deal compared to conventional loans, many of which are going at 15% interest. Well, who can get an FHA loan, and how can you qualify for one?
First thing is you don't come to FHA directly. You work with a qualified mortgage lender, mortgage company, and they will do the processing of the paper and submit the forms to us for review. But in essence, we're going to look at your payment history. Obviously, someone who's he's overextended in debts, giving him a house expense with all the related expenses of housing would probably just sink them. But we're going to look at your payment history, your income stream, and your employment status, how long you've been. If you're an unsteady employee, that might indicate other things that we'd have to look for. But if you've got a steady employment history, you've got a good history of payment on your debts, and you have an adequate income to make the payments on the house. Now this, what your income needs to be depends on what the value of the house is and how much you're able to invest as a down payment and what your actual mortgage will be.
Now, FHA will only let a buyer spend 38% of his income on house payments, so you must find a home with a price that fits your income. Anyone can apply regardless of how much you make. FHA is not just for low income. You also have to find a seller that will sell their home FHA. Now, some have hesitated to sell through FHA in the past because of improvements required by the government. But now FHA is allowing more homes to be sold as is. They're more concerned with safety and sanitary conditions of the home or mobile home. And now, in addition to FHA's standard 30-year loans at 13.5% currently, they have 15-year loans at 11%. Payments are almost the same, but they don't last as long. The FHA program is being as liberal as possible in their lending now, and it could be a good way to get that first or that next home a little more reasonably.